Hello. So in this video, we are going to start the new tutorial for a little game called Balloon Pop. So the idea is to, using loops, that's really the lesson at the heart of this tutorial, to draw lots of balloons on the page, getting all those balloons to like wiggle around and move all over the place. But then when the user presses on the balloons with their mouse, then they pop. And then we can get into making it a little more complex with that they have health points. So it takes a few clicks to pop them. We can do lots of different things with it. But the basic idea is that there's lots of balloons on the page, and the user is clicking on the balloons to make them pop. And again, what we're learning at the heart of this tutorial is how to handle all of the balloons, how to very efficiently go through the 100 of them or however many there are. So that's what we're going to take a look at. So to get that going, let's just get the balloons to show up, and then we'll go from there. So if we wanted to just see some balloons like these circles, then we would maybe in function draw use a for loop to then make them show up. But I want these balloons to last a little bit longer. I want them to keep existing throughout the whole game, until they pop, and then we handle that situation. So I'm not just going to jump to my for loop right away. I need some way to remember those balloons. I need a variable. All right, so we're going to make a variable and say let balloons, plural, equal square brackets. All right, so the idea with the square brackets here is to make an array. An array is a variable that stores a collection of objects, or numbers or strings or a whole mix of everything, or even functions. It just stores a group of things. So that's why I called it balloons. I'm not going to call them balloon 1, balloon 2, balloon 3. They're all balloons together. All right, and then what I'm going to do is create a function then to do this a little more efficiently. I'm going to make a function called create balloon singular. And so pretty often I'll make that distinction whether it's singular, so not an S at the end, or plural. Sometimes it's hard to hear whether I said that or not. So I'll specify whether it's singular or plural, like having that S at the top there. So this is create balloon singular. And the idea here is we're going to make an object. So kind of like we did in Pong and in the other tutorials. We're going to create a variable called, let's call it new balloon equal curly braces. Right? So it's an empty object. And this is just the style that I'm going to use. I understand that there is a different way to approach this. I could make a class and with a constructor, but I kind of like this strategy here. All right, so that new balloon then needs all of its attributes, so it definitely needs an X position. And so maybe it's going to be, let's just jump to making them kind of random. I do want them all over the place. All right. And instead of typing the number 400 here, I'm going to type the word width, which in P5, in the library that we're using here, that represents the width of the canvas. So that if I wanted to make my canvas bigger in the future, then I'm at least using this variable that can update to that. This is the number 400 at this time, but I'm going to use this. So then to do a similar thing here, balloon.y also equals a random on the height. I suppose I could make it a different structure here. And a color. Let's do that. New balloon dot color equals, and then I'm going to just say red for now. All right, so that's something basic, and I'll just work with this as a structure. Now, what I want to do is to get this balloon into this array somehow. And I'm eventually going to want to do it a lot of times, like maybe 100, maybe 200. So that's kind of why I've set this structure up this way. In order to get this balloon here, well, the first thing I need to do is to call this function. I need to make this code actually happen. So I'm going to go inside of function setup. We haven't used this very much, but function setup runs before the game even starts. Right, function draw is the thing that repeats over and over and over again. But function setup happens at the beginning. So this is when I want to just make the balloon data. This is where I'm going to be at. So I would generally say create balloon, and I'll call the method. But that is just going to do this and then kind of forget about it. So if this new balloon is right here and it's got all these properties, what I want to do is return that new balloon. If this return keyword here then runs the code inside this function, and then it takes that object, those variables and that data that we just made, and it gives it back to when we called the function up here. Right, so we've kind of seen how we can give information to a function, but return is how that function responds. So it makes the new balloon and then it's going to give it back. So this right here is the new balloon. So what do I want to do with it? Well, I want to take the balloons array, use the dot push method, right, which would look like this generally, right, dot push parens. And then I'm going to take that create balloon piece and I'm going to put it in those parentheses here. All right, so it's going to push the new balloon into the array. And the push method adds it to the end. Right, so no matter how many I have at that point, then that's going to put it in there. All right, so let's see if I can at least get this one balloon to draw, and then we'll figure out how to call it over and over again to get 100, to get 200. So in the function draw here, I am going to define another function. So notice after the curly brace here, it's a function draw balloon. I draw a balloon, and then it does take in the balloon. So how's it going to draw a balloon? Well, it's going to draw a start with a circle. I'm going to draw a circle at balloon dot. What I could do here is I'm going to shorten this up because it's just a temporary variable. So notice how now it says function draw balloon b. It's standing for balloon here. So then it's b dot x, comma, b dot y, comma, and I'm just going to go ahead and type a 30. I could make that a variable, but let's leave it this way. All right, so it should draw it then in that location. And thinking about the fact that it has a color, I'll use the fill function, fill with b dot color before drawing the circle. All right, this just defines the function. I need to actually call it. And I kind of need to specify which balloon. Now, right now, there's only one of them, so it's pretty easy to figure out. But I still need to put it in the parentheses there. So if I draw inside a function draw here, to call draw balloon to actually make it happen. So let's take the draw balloon. Parentheses, I need to put the balloon in here. And so how I do that is I start with the balloons array. Right? So that's all of the balloons, which is only one. And then I use the square brackets to kind of access one individual balloon in here. And for right now, I'm going to start with that first and only balloon. All right, now arrays are handled in a way that they have a certain index number. So every new balloon that gets added into there is going to take a new index number. And they always start counting from 0. So if I want the first balloon, then I'm going to say balloons, square brackets, 0, and that's going to give me the first one. Right? It's not 1. The arrays always start counting from 0. Now, if I had two balloons, the second balloon would be index 1, but since I want the first one, I use index 0. So this should actually draw the balloon. Yeah, so it actually showed up. All right, now it's not moving or anything, which is not what I expected yet. The function draw is repeating, so I'm getting that to repeat, but it's always in the same x and y, so I'm not seeing any motion. Now, where they are created, that is random. So if I ran the game, I am going to get the balloon in a different position, which is going to help us out in the next step. Now, sometimes they're not in the field of view here. But that'll help us out with the next step of making lots of balloons that need to be in a different position and so we can see them. So that will be the next thing we take a look at is getting more than one balloon into here and very efficiently filling it with maybe like 100 or something.